Hey everyone, Dan here with Fanatik. Now, if you've been anywhere on the mountain bike related internet in the past week or so, you'll have seen that SRAM has released a GX version of their widely acclaimed Eagle AXS wireless drivetrain. Now, although I haven't actually used the GX version yet, or even seen it, I have been running the X01 wireless drivetrain for the past 7 months on my Eagle following. It's given me plenty of time to become accustomed to it, to find its many strengths and its very few weaknesses. My initial fear is that I'd find myself out on trail with a battery that was lacking a charge, or that I'd simply forget the battery at home have proven unfounded. The very few instances where you do have to charge this thing, I just drape the charger over my bike and don't forget it. It's also proven very durable. It's gone through an extremely wet Pacific Northwest winter where I'm always spraying it with a hose. And it's even sustained a few crashes where I ended up accidentally tossing my bike off into the woods, and it's just fine. I would have been a little disappointed were it not though, because it is a very expensive piece of kit. To upgrade your current Eagle mechanical drivetrain to AXS, prior to today, you had to pay at least $800 for the X01 upgrade kit. It comes with the derailleur, the shifter, the battery, and the charger, basically everything you need. Or $1,000 for the XX1 kit, which I have here. Now, with the GX upgrade kit, again, what you need to upgrade your current mechanical drivetrain to wireless, they've dropped the price $200 from the X01 kit. It is now a much more palatable $600. Where did this money come from? Let's do a bit of an unboxing on this and compare the fit and finish of all these three products and figure out where that money came from and if it's worth paying a little bit more for the higher end versions. So here we've got two fresh upgrade kits. This is the XX1 upgrade kit over here that retails for $1,000. And here we've got our brand new GX AXS kit, $600. Let's take a look. Now we see that the XX1 comes packaged in this very nice foam, whereas the GX comes in cardboard. No big deal, you're gonna throw that away anyway. Moving on to the components that don't matter quite as much, we'll see that the charger is in fact identical. Both use a mini USB cable that is included, but you can use any mini USB if you forget it. This will bring your battery up to about 80% charge in a very short period of time, around an hour. Next, we have our batteries. These are also identical in the same thing that's used by the AXS dropper post and the E-tap line of AXS road bike components. That means that you can make a really cool gravel grinder that uses a mountain drivetrain and drop bar levers. Or you can buy yourself an extra battery and throw it in your pack if you're worried about somehow running out. You'll see that they do come with a discrete clamp that allows you to mount your controller to your handlebar, but they also are compatible with the matchmaker clamp that comes stock on all SRAM brakes, like the guides and the codes. Now moving into our actual components that we care about, the controller. You'll see first off that these look very similar, and that's because they in fact are very similar. The only difference between these two is the color. You'll see the GX has the lunar gray color that has become synonymous with that line, and some of the branding. This one says GX, this one says AXS on it. This is what's shared between the XX1 and X01 lines. There's no differentiation there. Now we have that differentiation with the GX controller, which for some reason does cost $50 less. Both of these use a CR2032 watch battery that you can get at any hardware store, Rite Aid, whatever, and it's alleged to last 2 years. The 7 months I've had mine, it has been totally fine. It has also weathered everything I can throw at it, from hosings to mud and everything in between, really, really well. Now, to prove to you all that these are in fact identical, let's really quickly weigh them. Here I've got my X01 XX1 controller, 68 grams. And our GX controller is also 68 grams. Now you will notice that both of these come with the original paddle that SRAM designed for these, Their thinking was to do something completely different than what is required by the mechanics of a normal shifter. Being button actuated, this is what they came up with. I have found a few people, myself included, that don't really get along with this design really well, for which they have released a different pedal that you can throw on here. It's $20 and it makes the actuation slightly more reminiscent of a regular mechanical shifter. They've opted for the stock one on both GX and X01, XX1. Let's talk about maybe the most important part of all, the derailleur. Now, first off, what are the similarities? In fact, a surprising amount is the same between these three derailleurs. Here's the GX derailleur in my hand, as well as the X01 that I've been running, and a brand new XX1. Now, in fact, all of the internals and the machinery, the motor, the electronics that's inside these derailleurs is identical between these three items. Even the finish up here, where most of the derailleur, battery and components are housed, is identical between all three of these. So what are you getting for these pretty large differences in price? That all comes down to things lower down here on the cage. We can see here on my GX derailleur that the cage that the pulleys are housed on is steel. We've got a forged steel bit. Actually, they both are maybe stamped steel, but that does add a little bit of weight. Moving up to the X01 derailleur, you get an aluminum cage, both front and rear. And then on the XX1, which is the most expensive, and as we'll see here in a second, the lightest, you get a carbon front cage and an aluminum, the same aluminum rear cage that's shared with the X01 derailleur. Other than that, there's very few differences. The GX and the X01 in particular are very similar. They both use steel hardware for the two bolts that hold the pulley wheels in, as well as the main derailleur attachment bolt, and they both use steel bearings in the pulley wheels themselves. The XX1 does get a little bit fancier. It uses titanium hardware in those same three bolts. These are actually hollow, which is pretty cool. Now, one last thing you might have seen is that the GX derailleur has this cool kind of venting thing up here. That's actually just a plastic case, and that's a new thing for the GX derailleur. It does work with the other derailleurs if you decide that you really like how it looks. I've never ever found personally or heard from anyone that they've lost their battery in some way. So I don't know that I would necessarily worry about this. And it does add a little bit of weight. Speaking of weight, let's put these all on the scale. So starting with our new GX Axis derailleur, I'm doing this first without the battery protector on there. We're weighing in at 454 grams. With the included battery protector, 464, so a 10-gram item. Moving up to the X01, this is my used X01, so there's probably a little extra weight from dirt and grime, 390 grams. And I'm weighing all of these with the battery on there. Last but not least, the XX1, 373. So between these two items, you're looking at just under 100 grams, around 90 grams. The GX derailleur does also include the overload clutch that made headlines with the X01 and XX1 drivetrain. All this actually does is disengage the shifting mechanism from the lower portion of the derailleur. So if you whack the side of the derailleur on something, a tree or a rock, it will move in. Now, there's been a lot of claims that this is an amazing feature. Any normal mechanical derailleur actually does the same thing. Go press on your derailleur and it'll move aside a little bit as much as the chain will allow it to. So this isn't a revolutionary feature, but it is cool that it's designed into these electric ones to save these very expensive pieces of components. So we've seen a bit of a price difference between these three items. We've definitely seen a bit of a weight difference as well, as you might expect. Are we going to see a durability difference? I don't yet know, but I will be running this very set of GX Axis on my bike to test it out, and we'll be getting back here to you to let you know what we find. If this is something that you want to try out on your own bike and really clean up that cockpit and experience the really crisp, cool shifting that AXS provides, you can definitely order them on our site. I know we've pre-sold the bulk of our initial order, but we will be getting more in later this year, so definitely feel free to check them out. If you have any questions or commentary, want to let us know how your experience with AXS has been, please let us know in the comments below. If you like watching these videos, please do subscribe to our channel. It really helps us to make them. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe so I can tell you what the GX really, how it performs. We'll see you next time.